Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time, still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm also watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Actually, it's my 47th time. But for the first time, I am intentionally watching the show, trying to seek out the messages that the writers and show creators have hidden deep within. You know, the sci-fi stuff, the things that hold up a mirror to society, give us hope that things can be better in the future, or just teach us how to be better human beings to one another.
Let's see if that happens in this, the 17th episode of the third season of SG-1, 100 Days. Last week, you told me this was the title of the episode. I went through quite a journey to decide what this was. In fact, I think I basically pulled out the plot of Fire and Water and said it would be that, but with Jack instead. Then I changed my mind, and I think that Jack is getting arrested, basically, and he's going to serve out a 100-day sentence.
You're a good guesser.
That's what you keep saying.
Yes.
Now, this might be a 100-day sentence, but this wasn't 100 days of an episode. So why don't you tell us what day it came out and all the cool stuff about this one?
Yeah, so 17th episode, third season, aired first here in the United States, February 4th, the year 2000. This story is credited to V.C. James.
Okay.
V.C. James is a name you probably are unfamiliar with. I would like to give this person a shout out. Jeff, are you familiar with the name D.C. Fontana?
Yeah, a little bit. She's done a couple little things in Star Trek.
And how do you happen to know that D.C. Fontana is a she?
Only because of modern times where, like, she has been able to come out as Dorothy Fontana.
And the reason she had to go to D.C. is because people wouldn't accept a female writer as readily as they would a male writer.
Exactly, especially in the 1960s, probably into the 70s and 80s as well. Yeah.
Now, I have no idea if that's the issue here with VC or Victoria, as they called her normally on set, Victoria James or VC James. It might have been an homage to DC Fontana. I have no idea. There's no information out there that says one way or the other. But I just want to say, listen, if she is doing this for those stupid reasons, I mean, I know this was 24 years ago for us at this point, 25, 20. God, Lord, I don't even know where math is hard.
It is.
I'm glad to be done with that. I hope we're done with that today. Like, we're generally done. Kathleen Kennedy is a name that we hear out there, whether people like it or not. It's still her. And what do you say, Jeff? Let's go watch it and find out exactly what happens.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hey, listen, if you guys are joining us for the very first time, first of all, welcome. You're amazing. You're awesome. We're so glad that you found us here. The way this works is Jeff and I are going to go watch this episode right now. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, stick around because you're going to get the reaction video to Jeff and I watching this episode. And if you're interested in the full unedited reaction, along with all our stuff from Babylon 5 and all the other stuff we have going on here at the Bye Nerds channel, you just head over to patreon.com/ByeNerds.
If you're listening to us on a podcasting app, we're about to meet you on the other side of the episode, where I'm going to share my first-time reactions. Brent's going to share any of the sci-fi messages that he pulled out of this bad boy. Hey, Brent, I think we got some time on our hands. Let's spend 100 days.
Chevron 7 locked.
All right, Jeff, we have just finished watching this episode, 100 Days. You just watched it for the very first time? Talk to us, my friend.
Didn't realize that I watched 100 Days. I thought I was watching TNG's The Inner Light.
Boom! There it is. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll call it The Inner Light. I'll call it The Inner Light Light.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, because, like, you know, Picard he lived an entire life, right? Kids, grandkids, everything.
Accepted it, went through the same journey Jack did.
But Jack, we got his for 3 months. But still, same idea. I think a little less of a emotional hit than the Inner Light, but still a very emotional.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree with you there.
Okay. How so?
Because when we got to the end of the Inner Light, what you realize is everything he experienced was all of those people were already dead for years, maybe centuries, millennia. They're all still there. Picard was living somebody else's life in the Inner Light. Jack was living his life in 100 days. it's the difference to me of finishing a really good book and experiencing it for yourself. And the fact that he had to hug her and leave her, which we'll talk about that in a few moments, but the fact that he had to go through that, his heart was already there in Endora, and now he's going to go back. And this is still syndicated television, so,
Yeah, probably not going to happen. That's actually my last note is, will he come back? Will this be an ongoing relationship? And probably not. But I think I will agree that what makes this emotionally as heavy or heavier than Inner Light is that Jack consciously made the choice to leave and go back. Whereas with Picard, it just ended. The simulation ended and sent him back. What I think is different, though, is, yeah, he was living someone else's life, but it was his life. He went through the same thing of giving up hope that he was going to go back to whatever. He accepted his fate, went all in. Like, that was him. He wasn't just like in the character and watching. He was making those decisions and experiencing all of those different things. He had to learn how to play the flute and all those. So I think the life piece, I think that Picard, so my note right before my last note is just, Jack gonna need some therapy. I think Picard would need more therapy.
Also, Jack can go back and visit anytime he wants. Picard can't.
Exactly. Yeah, that's done. It's like, and I think that's why even in the series Picard, we got the callbacks to him playing the flute, was because that's his only connection to all of that. Like, there is a version of this where he and Lara do have an ongoing relationship, and he does go back and see her. It's just long distancey, and
or she moves in with him.
Yeah, or back and forth.
Or he retires and goes to her.
Yeah, there's real next steps that could come from this. Very unlikely, given the nature of television, especially at that time. But
I will say, though, don't forget how Stargate operates. How often have you seen a character come back? How often have you seen a character come back multiple times? Looking at Jacob, Martouf, you've seen Braytak a few times. You've seen, I'm not thinking of anybody else off the top of my head right now. I mean, Gate Guy's back.
But I think for watching this for the first time, I went through a lot of thoughts as to what the episode was going to be, right? So during the watch of the episode, I stopped and thought, oh, this might be a version of the Dragon Riders of Pern. And, just the weird astrological events that happen in Impact Planets. My very first note that I made on here was, this has to be the episode with the most technobabble and science in it. Like, it was so overloaded, and it was totally appropriate. Like, it was kind of cool, and it's like, here, this is the work that Sam does.
And Daniel, too.
And Daniel. We see Daniel do his stuff a lot, though. It's not as, I don't know, it's just geological stuff or whatever. Sam was like creating stuff from nothing. And I think a lot of credit has to go to Amanda Tapping for just rattling that stuff off. I believe that she knew exactly what she was talking about.
Right.
But I think, so there's the whole episode that happens. Lara was great, great leader, really encouraging person. I had questions around, like, is she overly aggressive and cutting him off from his old life? Because we really quickly pivoted away from the science stuff. I mean, that still happened over there, but the real story happened to me. The real story started when we saw Jack on the canoe, and it says 3 months later. That's when we got into this stuff. And Jack at that point was in the process of making that decision of, this is where I live. And I think what's interesting about it is, I asked the question at the end, what was the nature of his relationship with Lara? She said that night, I believe it was that night before, the way they handled time stuff was a little weird in the episode and difficult to track, but she's like, I want you to give me a child. And then, like, they kind of, was Jack about the whole thing, and not sure if anything actually happened or not. We got the sign at the end. She's kind of holding, down in the womb area, like she might have one.
Well, she did the Savick thing at the end of Search for Spock.
I think what's neat about the way they did that is it's wide open as to what can happen. But what is the most interesting part of this episode to me, though, is the second that she shares the radio and says there was a voice on it. Because in that moment, if if Jack is 98%, this is me now, and then he heard that voice, that slapped over, that went down to 0% that fast, just in a heartbeat. And he went down, he's got, I'm going to get Tilk, I'm going to do this. He was so eager and so excited to reignite that old life. And it wasn't until he looked at her and saw her that he had that realization of like, oh, I had a really good thing that was building here, and I have to walk away from that. And in that moment, you said it a minute ago, in that moment when he gives her the hug and brings up the treaty, I found that to be a hug goodbye.
Yeah.
And a readjustment of the relationship to like, oh, by the way, we're going to talk about treaties now, and thank you for the memories, and I'm out.
Right.
Yeah, this is a powerful episode. Really well done, really strong, and good placement in the season as well. I think, we're coming off Ergo, which was, meant to be a good time.
It was hilarious.
As intended to be that. And then getting here, and then from what I understand, we're going to start picking up.
This is the section where we talk about Jeff's first time watch. I would like to, in this moment, because this is one of the few episodes where I clearly remember Brent's very first watch of this episode.
Oh, really? Okay.
And my feelings coming out of this. And I want to express what I know is my first time watch reaction, which is my same reaction I have every single time I come out of watching this episode. And I'm having it right now without foreknowledge of what comes in the future. You said it in the middle of this episode. This relationship is earned. This isn't some closing shot. We're going to interlock our fingers and now everybody's going to freak out. This isn't, Chakotay and Seven, or Worf and Deanna, which is way worse than Chakotay and Seven ever was.
It's not Jack and Alt Sam.
It's not Jack and Broca Divide Sam, who's hopped up on antihistamines or whatever, non-antihistamines. It's an earned relationship. I like Lara. Lara is a great foil for Jack.
Yes.
She puts him in his place. She lets him know what's up. She also respects him. She clearly admires him. She clearly loves him.
Supports him, believes in him.
That, she wants him to father a child with her. She wants him in her life, and she is trying to help push him that way. And this will lead more into my messages here in just a few moments. But when they leave, my response to this every single time is, I love this relationship. I want to see her back. Perhaps not in every episode. I understand how television works, but I need to see her back as a regular recurring character. When this show is done, I need Jack to return to her.
That's the end.
But I need him to not just be gone from her life for the next however many years the show's going to have left.
Prepare for incoming Gold Channel communication.
Before we gate into the rest of this episode, did you know you're missing most of the content from this podcast? Stargate SG-1 for the first time has an active and exciting Patreon that you can join right now by clicking the link in the show notes. Not only will you get access to the full, unedited podcast and reaction videos, you'll also be able to join a growing, vibrant, maybe even an intergalactic community. Subscribers even get access to all of our content from Babylon 5 for the first time. Don't miss out on this content and the amazing people. Just click the link in the show notes. Tilk thinks you should do it right now.
Indeed.
Have her be the Jacob that shows up from time to time. Have him decide, I've got some leave time. I'm heading off to see Lara.
I'm going to go see Lara. Hey, we've got this weekend off. Cool. I'm going over to Lara's.
What a great way, because Robert Dean Anderson is doing other stuff, and there's times you're only going to have a couple lines in this episode for whatever. Cool. Those lines can be, hey, I'm heading off to see Lara. Cool. You don't have to bring the actor in. Just mention the name and keep it alive.
Just tell us he's gone to see Lara. Dial him up on the Gate TV computer thing, or if you have to, if you got to get him in the episode for some reason or another. Like I said, I know what happens. I know how often they do or don't come back. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let you just hold it in the back of your mind for as long as I always had to.
That's fair.
Because I want her back. I like her, and she's still there.
Sci-fi messages, my friend. What do you got?
Yeah, so I have two, and I don't know that these were necessarily intended messages of a show, but certainly something we can pick out of the show. Mourning. Let's talk about mourning. When you experience a loss, time is needed for mourning. You have to take time. You have to give people time to mourn. You know, there's a reason why many cultures, a spouse dies, a father dies, or whatever, they wear black for so many days, weeks, months, or something of that nature. They do something that signifies that they're in mourning. And then there comes a time when they're out of mourning and they got to move on. It is okay to be sad about what you lost. You know, and Lara really pushed Jack to like get over it and get on. I don't know that Jack would have done it without her pushing him to do so.
I agree.
I think Jack very well could have lingered in that spot for a very long time. And I mean, gosh, can we just talk about a masterful performance by Richard Dean Anderson?
Oh, for real.
In this episode? Because you felt every bit of pain in his eyes, in how he was holding his shoulders, and how he swung an axe or a pickaxe or a shovel. Like, you felt every bit of it. You were inside his head as he's making his decisions to let this go. When she's got his clothes there and he's like, hey, you should keep that. That's like really good stuff. And she's like, but does it remind you? You could follow his whole train of thought to the point he said, you know what, toss them. You could follow it, and you were there with him. You went on that journey, all acting. So phenomenal. There's a time that's needed for mourning. It's okay to be sad, but here's the thing. You also have to get back to life. You are still alive. You're still here. You still have things that you need to do. That doesn't mean you forget. That doesn't mean you give up hope. That doesn't mean that you never, ever think about that again, which might be where Lara kind of seemed to really want him to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not helpful, you know. And he told her at some point, he laid down, he's like, look, there's always going to be a piece of me that is from there, that has that in the back of my mind, that holds out hope. And that's fine. That's good. You know, a pet dies. There should be, I recommend if it's a beloved pet, especially, something to remember the pet by. I've shared on this show before, many shows, my Wi-Fi password is my dead dog from 2 dead dogs ago.
Yeah.
My last dead dog has a memorial stone out in our garden, but you have to get on with the business of life. That's a message that if you are in mourning, please hear me. I'm not saying get over it. What I am saying is take your time to mourn, but also get back to the business of life. And getting back to the business of life does not mean, like I said, forgetting or giving up. It just means getting on with the business of life, because you got some stuff you got to do here. And frankly, just like that society needed Jack, they needed his skills. They needed what he could bring. They needed him. They were a small group of people. They needed him to get back and be there. The people around you need you.
I think it's interesting too, and was well done by Lara, in that she kept bringing up her husband who had passed, but not in a way of, she wasn't clinging to the person. She was honoring the memory.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like there's that difference. And I think in your message, I really want, like, you just very eloquently put the piece of, it's not about getting over it and moving on. It's really about processing it and feeling it and sitting in it, and then understanding there's still life. It's still there. But I think the other piece of it that's really key is take that time to mourn. How many people do you know who experience a big loss and, oh, it's fine. I'm all right. I'm all right. It's okay. Hey, you know what? It's not okay. It's not. Like, sit in that for a little while or a long while. Sit in it, let it happen, and then proceed with your life. You'll be a changed person because of it. Lara was a changed person because of being with and then losing her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, that it's a good thing. It is a good thing. That's a sucky thing. That's a good thing.
Sure. So that's one thing. I said I have a second one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this is a bit of Brent's own personal life philosophy. This is how I operate. This is my default mode. And I'm noting it here because it didn't happen. And it makes me upset.
Okay.
When we get to the end and SG-1 finally comes back together, they get Jack. Jack's in the garb of the locals. We're going by and they're having that whole goodbye conversation. And you really get the feel, Jeff, this is a goodbye. This is not a so long. This is not a I'll see you. This is a goodbye. I hate that. There is zero reason why Jack should be saying goodbye right now. He has every reason to look at SG-1 and say, yes, I'm coming back to work. I work there. I live here. This is where my family is now, but I go to work there. Turns out it's not that long of a commute to get back to the SGC.
Right. Pretty short walk.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's a long walk from the village out to the field where the Stargate is, it's not that bad. He can go to work. There's zero reason. What they didn't do is they didn't find a way to have both. It was a one or the other. And again, I'm not speaking to how much they do or don't come back to this planet or how much Lair is involved in Jack's life going forward. But I really detest this idea that this now means that you have to go back. The realities of television show making, Jeff, is she's not joining the main cast. There's a spoiler alert. Do we ever see again? Well, I'm not going to dive into that, but you gotta be able to find both. Figure out this happens in my life all the time. You know, it's, hey, my kid wants to take up playing this sport. Well, that's going to be really hard because we have a time conflict with this other thing over here. And my wife, who keeps me grounded and keeps me from doing really stupid stuff a lot of times. Okay. This is part of how our relationship works. Her first response is usually why we can't do something.
Okay.
Whenever I bring something, well, we can't do that because of this, and the other. And I go, no. That's not, we can't. That's just a challenge to overcome. How do we do both? Do we have a little shuffle? Is she just going to be late from this one thing going into this other? Do we take a pause here? Do we move this temporarily so that we can find room to fit this in? I will tell you, this is also how I often get in trouble and overload my schedule.
There's a tool that I use and I encourage others to use. And it's one of those, there's a lot of, self-improvement stuff. It's, eliminate this word from your language. And there's no such thing as mistakes. There's only opportunities and all those kind of platitudes that are out there. Some of them kind of work is the thing. And this is the one where instead of coming in initially with a no, like your wife might, no, we can't for these reasons, flip it and just use this phrase. Yes, if. Yes, we can do that if we give this thing up, if we're late to this thing, if we get the kid an Uber card and, and put him on the account and do whatever. You identify what the options are, what the constraints are, and then you're not making a decision as to whether you do the thing or not. You're making a decision as to if you can deal with those barriers or constraints.
With what it means. Yeah.
It's a much different way. And so then, especially when kids want a thing, they're, I want this. Awesome. You want that thing? Here's what we need to say yes to that. Can we get there? And the kid's like, yeah, I can't do those things. Okay, then you have I'm not telling you no. You identified the constraints, admitted they're bigger than the thing. You made your own choice.
I think one of my greatest growths as an employee, as a person, even I dare say as a leader, was coming up with the concept of when a boss, a supervisor taught me this idea, don't bring me problems. Don't bring me problems. I don't ever want to hear a problem come out of your mouth. Bring me a solution. If you're going to come to me and tell me that there's something going on, I need you to have already thought of 2 or 3 ways that we can fix it and get around it. Don't bring me the problem. Bring me the solution. Hey, boss, XYZ is going on. Here are the 3 options that we can do to work around it. Pick one. I recommend this one.
It's a pretty great way. Well, I'll tell you, in my experience, though, that actually discourages people from bringing things forward. Here's this problem, but I can't really think of how to solve it, so I'm going to keep it quiet. So what you do instead is say, bring me problems and a willingness to collaborate towards the solution.
Maybe I'm just built differently, because that has been one of the greatest strengths I've ever found. And I encourage everybody to do that. Now, people bring me problems all the time and I got to solve it for them. That's a lot of times my job.
Well, that's where you flip it. You don't solve it for them. You say, great, let's sit down and collaborate and do this together.
Well, and that's the other, is I try to lead people through the solution themselves. Like, I've already figured it out. I know exactly where to go from here. It just, let me see if I can't help you get to where I already am.
Use that almighty Socratic method to pull them that direction.
Make you feel like you're the one who actually had the idea.
And on the journey, be open to, oh gosh, I didn't consider that. That's pretty brilliant. Let's go that way.
So these two things, find a way to do both and take time for mourning, but get on with the business of life. Did Bride sit down and say, I want to do a story about these two things? No. Did he look at this as an opportunity to put those in as actual messages? You know, if we put this up against our litmus test, hope for a better future, maybe. Get on with a better life. Things can be better in the future. Also, just how to be better human beings to one another, how dealing with people. I think it fits in there somewhere. Is it overly intentional? Was it super strong? I mean, I felt it was fairly clear. I'm going to go, let's see, we're going on a scale of 7 chevrons. Jeff, I'm going 3.5 chevrons right in the middle.
Yep, I was thinking 4. 3.5 makes a ton of sense, though.
So, Jeff, I get to do the rating. You, my friend, however, get to do the ranking, our 100% completely definitive, immutable, unscrutable ranking of Stargate SG-1 Season 3. Jeff, I have no idea where you're going to place this. Like, I have none. Our current top 5, though, is Jolinar's Memory and Devil You Know, the duo episode, in at number 1 together. Number 2 at Forever and a Day, Fair Game, Pretense, Foothold. You got Ergo all the way down at 7. What's wrong with you? Legacies at 8. Sheesh. Jeff, where are you going to place 100 Days?
You're right about Ergo kind of being where it is. It's a little odd for it to be in that spot. So this episode, 100 Days, is going to be the new number 7, right above Ergo.
Oh, Jeff.
Again, I didn't dislike Ergo. It's just I liked this one better.
Okay, well, but let's go through the test here. Okay, because actually I'm going to push back on you just a little bit.
All right.
You get to make the final call here, though. Learning Curve.
Mm-hmm.
Between Learning Curve and 100 Days, which Learning Curve was the episode with the little kids.
Yep.
That would learn stuff and then they'd pluck a piece of their brain out and lobotomize them.
Yeah.
Talk to me between these two episodes. Why is Learning Curve above 100 Days for you?
It's interesting you picked that one because I was looking at 6 or 7 for 100 Days. And I think for me, I'm sticking with Learning Curve just because I love the sci-fi concept behind it. Like, it's just a really great idea that I think they executed really well. Now, 100 Days is an enjoyable episode with a really great interpersonal story in it. It's excellent and it's really well executed. I'm a sci-fi guy.
By the way, both of those episodes feature Richard Dean Anderson with gravitas performances.
Right? Yeah. We have him as an incredible, like, I'm awesome with kids. And, hey, I can also be vulnerable and a great partner, too.
And make a kid.
It's a thing he can do. The stuff to do, it's right here, right now.
All right. So you'll go Learning Curve over 100 Days. Fair enough. Jeff, I'll tell you something about 100 Days. It's not actually an episode I watch a whole lot.
Yeah, I can see that.
It is an episode I love. I adore this episode. I don't watch Inner Light a ton. It's not Ergo for me. It's not a sit down, feel good. Yeah, I got 45 minutes to spare. Let's throw that episode on.
Inner Light, 100 Days, City on the Edge of Forever. Like these big episodes of things, I see them. I appreciate them for what they are. I just don't really watch them that much.
I watch them on watch throughs. When I'm doing a watch through, that's when I watch them. But outside of that, I tend to pass over them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jeff, that's going to do it for us here for 100 Days. Next time, we're watching a fun episode. Well, I think it's a fun episode, but I think every episode of Stargate is a fun episode. The title of this episode, Jeff, Shades of Grey. I feel like I've been giving you hints lately as to episodes.
They've been super helpful. Clearly, I thought Ergo was going to be a water episode.
Here's my hint. Somebody that I guarantee you are not suspecting is going to come back in this one.
I'm kind of going through all the different little...
You're going through all the
guest
people.
star. It's like, could it be? Could it be? Where I went initially, and maybe this just says a lot about where my head is in life right now, is like Shades of Grey. Someone's going to break the law, and they're going to like argue about, is it just like this, either or are there shades of gray in the interpretation? I thought this one was going to be a getting arrested episode also, so maybe that's a thing I have on my mind. Shades of Grey, I think this will be a Broca Divide. The who are the people in Broca Divide? The
Minoan people.
Yeah, those people. I forget. There's dude with
Tupelo.
Yeah. Yep. That's gonna be our person. It's coming back, and I don't know. That's my prediction. Some sort of shade of gray with him.
Some sort of shade of gray. Well, Jeff, you are a good guesser, my friend. And we'll find out just how good of a guesser you are next time right here on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Thank you guys out there so much for joining us. You're amazing. You're awesome. We love this. We love when you guys join us. Please be sure to comment down below or send us in an email. You can do that at our website. Find that contact form. I'm sure that's out there somewhere, Jeff. Eventually, yeah, whatever. Anyway, and also don't forget, wherever you are consuming this, please subscribe to the show. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit subscribe. If you're on a podcasting app somewhere out there, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, the best thing you can do is, the second best thing I should say you can do is leave us a rating and review. That helps other people who are looking for shows about Stargate know that, hey, this is a pretty good one, and attracts more people. So that would be very much appreciated. Ratings and reviews are super important. Also, the best thing you can do is actually just share the show with a friend or a family member or a complete stranger. It doesn't matter, as long as it's somebody that you know who loves SG-1 or somebody who, like Jeff over there, needs to get into the gate for the first time. So for that, that's Jeff. I'm Brent. We're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much. We will see you next time right here.
Hey, Brent.
Yeah, Jeff, what's up?
I just been thinking a little bit. That's how I end a lot of these episodes is me thinking. You're doing the call to action, doing a great job, and I sit here thinking about it. And it occurs to me that, again, we had to make a choice. You had to make a choice a little while ago, last week actually. I have another choice for you to make.
Okay.
Are you ready to walk away from Babylon 5 and all of our work we've done there and commit yourself fully now to SG-1?
Why? Why would I need to do that?
You know, honestly, your Chevron talk hit me really hard, and I got to tell you, you wouldn't have to do that because we can do both.
Indeed.